Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. How's it going? Oh boy. I'm gonna be real. I nearly spent too much time reading stuff. I was reading manga, watching videos, and everything else that I almost forgot that we were doing this shit. I'm gonna be real. Yep. I'm gonna be real. I almost forgot. It's something that happens very often to me, at least. Whee! Where's the game? There's the game. There's that game. Put it here. Put it there. Put it there, boys. We're back home. I'm using the wrong microphone. Whoa! Gotta go in here, gotta go in here, gotta go this, gotta that, gotta go. Gotta go back out. Yeah! Ah. Did it. Yes, as usual, Thursday will always begin with us on desktop. Of course, it's always on desktop. This is always going to be on desktop. It is much more cheaper. Easier to do. Because we tested out the first episode in VR, and after that my VR basically died. So, of course, I got on desktop. And found out that it's much more relaxing being on desktop mode. These stories. I know a lot of people ain't really thrilled about that. Like, oh, why are you doing your chat on desktop? You wanna know the simple answer? It's much more relaxing. Honestly, it's much more relaxing to be on desktop than it is being in VR. I like doing this. Plus, I get to, do these face features and everything else. Doing the funny things using the shift F keys. Does that mean accidentally I will sometimes click the wrong button and Alt F for myself? Hasn't happened yet. It's gonna happen one day. Trust me. Plus, I like using the desktop face tracking and the hand tracking on desktop. It's really funny. It works really nicely in some worlds. Other worlds, it doesn't want to go at all. It's based on how much light the camera receives and you receive. If they kind of fight one another and counter at one another, then it doesn't really want to function. It doesn't want to track itself. You will see those people in like public lobbies where they move their hand and it does like this. You see this? Where it just kind of glitches out. Or their face just suddenly goes... So yeah, that happens sometimes. Fortunately, there's no pens here. And yes, I moved over to suburbia. Which is why I'm ratting it around. I'm the local rat. Nah, honestly, if you don't know, this is a world called Summer in Suburbia Redux by Stray. It is a very pretty world. This is one of those surprisingly nice worlds in VR chat. For many reasons. It also has my favorite thing, which is the Orangina commercial. Which I've forced people to watch because it's so stupid. And every now and then, when you hang around on the street, a car will come by. And when it hits you, you get Dark Souls. Unfortunately, I don't see one right now. I'm waiting until my buddy is ready so we can go. Yes, and I have the Silent Hill music back here, yes, of course. Yeah. We're just hanging around here, spending some time before Zombs is ready. So we get to be the neighborhood rat for a while. Also, some of these things have colliders, others do not, like this. No collider. This one does. so you can get on top of the trash. Which is pretty awesome. I think some of the cars do not have colliders. Yep. Oh God, what happened? Oh, Jesus. Yeah, it's fun running around in desktop mode as well. I talked about this yesterday with some of my friends while we were hanging around in the great club. I had a couple buddies come by and they were like, "You're desktop mode, wow, everyone's on desktop, wow," and then they just left. Immediately. I'm not gonna name who they were, but let me just say, the way that I've seen them act towards people who are first on VR, in half-body, then swap into full body, and they basically just completely go gaga on them. Hey, look at that, it's a car. The papers are coming. And then when they go to desktop mode, they basically ignore the desktop users completely, or they just don't want to hang around with it because they're like, "Oh, you're not fun." Hi, Squidward. Yeah, that happens. And honestly, I believe that people should actually give desktop users more slack. Let the desktopers be desktopers. Let them enjoy their time. Because after all, we're the ones who can go into every single world. No frame drop issues. No nothing. Best performance. We're the ones who can play you tunes without having to make you die immediately. And also, overall, we just love to talk. Or just observe and stuff. Meanwhile, the VR users are the ones who get into full body, lay down on the floor, and then they just stare. Or they go to the beer dwelling. Meanwhile, here's what I do. I climb on top of the roof. I find these things. I look around the neighborhood. And then I fall off. Because rat. I really like that. I might have to actually buy this model at some point. This is a public model. It is 100% a public model. I have it in my favorites. I can actually prove it right now. We go to favorites. It is in... Where's the Kenny? There. The Kenny Public. Yep. It looks completely different normally. That is what it looks like normally. That is the normal size that it has, 1 meter 13. I use it a bit differently. I think I've set mine to be... No, I'm actually at the same size. Alright. Hell yeah. Rat. And to be honest, I love just stomping around. The go-go and everything else helps a lot. It's really fun. Friends send me some pictures of Harry. That's awesome. Plus, I like the people who are on desktop because when they're working on Abby's and stuff, you can see the work that they put into them. It's fun seeing them working at the same time, doing things, making sure things work, and just they're the ones who usually create worlds as well. Most people who are in VR are focused on VR. They're literally there to do the other things. I have a lot of people who do, for example, they like to dance. They very much love to just dance. They go into a world, listen to good music, find someone who's playing music, go next to them and just start vibing, dancing, whatever the heck, trying to gather other people to do the same thing, even if they can't really do that. They put on a show. I have some people who love to do, for example, the Kamen Rider stuff, the Super Sentai stuff, the Power Ranger stuff, all that. And they pull out all the moves and stuff. They have stuff custom made so that they can actually do the transformations, everything. It is really cool seeing them pull them off in VR. 100%. You got the half-body people who do comedy shows, for example. They walk up to the mic and they start just telling jokes, doing some sort of performance, singing, whatever the heck. It's cool. It's really nice. I love it. I love seeing people being creative. The one thing that puts me down is when people judge you if you're on desktop, half body, full body, whatever the heck. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. I use all of them. Up in everything, except for standalone quest users. That I refuse to do because I want to see everything in VR chat. That's the only thing I refuse to do. I still don't put down questies though, because honestly, there's a lot of cool people there. And a lot of the major playbase here is unfortunately questy. That is an unfortunate thing. Which means that a lot of worlds that are super cool will never be shown. To a lot of people, they will only see the quest side of VR chat. As for content creators, they are the ones who make cool shit. Very cool shit. I'm just waiting for the invite from Zomz. And then we get the show on the road. Because I don't want to open up on Princess at the moment and just show everybody what they're doing. Car! Yeah! And neighbor!
Hi, Squidward!
Ah! I'm bad at it. Twice. I felt the need to do that. It's really fun. Also, monitoring everything that I have. Everything seems to run nicely. You might have just heard the drilling from my neighbors. Fuck! I'll do my best to mute my microphone during the stream. Well, doing the story thing. That is knockin'. Alright, hammer time. And that's drilling. Yep. This is the final day, by the way, of them doing this. So life is good. Damn it! Give me back there. Where is it? There it is. End of Small Sanctuary. The most famous or known song in I think Silent Hill. Well, apart from Promise Reprise and a few others. But this is the one that people usually have. They usually play this one. If they ask, like, what's the nicest song, they usually like, oh yeah, it's the End of Sanctuary from Silent Hill 3. It's also the one that you basically start the game with. Oh, hell yeah, we're going to the diner. To the diner! Let's go! Yeah! Oh, that was fast. Wow, this place looks like it's run over.
Hi, how are ya?
Hi, how are ya?
I'm just gonna stay here until you're fully loaded.
Yeah. That's probably a good idea.
Yeah, it would seem that I am a bit out of color.
What do you mean?
Where's the hat man outside?
He's a regular here, don't worry about it.
Hi, Squidward.
It's the hash-slinging slasher.
Hell yeah. I'm gonna be real, as soon as we loaded in here, I looked at that. Instead of saying hot food, I thought it said not food.
Yeah, just vibes. Not food, just vibes.
Just vibes, no food.
Yes, hello everyone! Sorry for a bit of a late start. I was trying to remember the name of this damn world, but clearly I was being dumb.
Bingor.
Bingor.
Yes.
Yes, hello, and welcome back to the Midnight Zone. How you doing? Come on in and sit on down. Today, we've got some bangers of stories for you guys. I've been holding on to these for a hella long time. and I am very, very excited to read them for you guys.
I got a 5-pack Twix.
Let's fucking go. Dude, I'm not gonna lie to you, I do not remember the last time I've had a Twix. It's been a minute.
I mean, usually when you ask somebody if they've had a Twix, they're like, you mean Snickers or Mars or something? And I'm like, no, Twix. And they're like, oh yeah, that exists.
What? I've never fucking had anything like that.
I've had that happen so many times. People forget that there's technically 3 bars that people love the most, which is Mars, Snickers, and then you got Twix.
Mm-hmm.
Some people put Bounty in their geisha, but eh. Oh yeah, funny fact. Over here in my country, we actually have the chocolate brand geisha. Some people were trying to make it into like a big problem. Like saying that it's wrong against like the Japanese culture. And then the Japanese people piped up and said, shut up, we love this chocolate.
Yeah, it doesn't, it's just a name. It doesn't matter. It's not like, it's like, it'd be different if it was like a fucking random Canadian company using, the other word for Romani people, which is an actual offensive word. The G word. But that would be different if like Romani people would be like, hey, maybe don't. Yeah. You know? But no, it's just geishas are a thing.
Yeah, and it was during the era when this became a problem. Was during the era when everybody was trying to find problems for everything, and it was the wrong people finding problems with the wrong things.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
Getting offended for somebody else was the dumbest way to be.
Mm-hmm. Oh, fucking none of my shit is wanting to load. This is weird. It was doing just fine, and then my computer froze, and now, like, half of it isn't wanting to load. What the fuck? Then again, I've been having issues with... No?
I had a door open.
I didn't fucking hear it.
Okay. What's the wind?
Alright, dude.
But now I had an issue with what page earlier today as well. Like, what the hell is happening? And then it's just
I might have to like... reopen them. Hold on.
Try refreshing.
I can't. It's just like perpetually loading.
Oh
God, I don't want to have to fucking suddenly cancel this shit midstream because I can't fucking get my shit to work.
I mean,
this is so fucking terrible.
If it won't work, then we can just improv shit.
I don't know how to... Gang, you have a little too much faith in me for just improving a story, at least.
Simple. We don't need to tell like a full story. We can just tell like experiences and stuff, and then just start talking about weird appearances, etc. And then, you know, go from there.
Okay, we might have to just do that. I can at least read one. I can read one story. It is one that I've actually been looking forward to, because this is another one that I have not read myself. So let's get right into it without further ado. This one is called Turn It Off.
Side note, there might be construction notes and noises and whatnot that might happen, so I will have to quickly just fucking myself every now and then.
No worries.
Yeah, let's go.
Alrighty, let's get in it. I rested my arms behind my head, skim reading the credits of a movie I'd just watched. After seeing them through about halfway, I lifted myself from the sofa and walked to the kitchen, stretching my arms above me. I opened the fridge door and found a carton full of juice, so I sat down at the kitchen counter by the window, cracked open the lid, and took several long, noisy gulps. When I couldn't drink anymore, I gasped to let in new air and wiped my mouth on the back of my hand. My evenings were uneventful around this time in summer. It was about 9:15 p.m. on a Saturday in July. School was out for the holidays, and my parents had gone to visit my aunt and uncle who lived by the coast. They would still be gone for 2 more weeks. I declined the invitation to join them. I didn't dislike the place or my relatives, but we usually stayed there so long that I'd miss out on summer break. And truthfully, I'd rather spend it with my friends in town. I was a good kid who knew how to wash clothes, use an oven, and generally not be an idiot, so they let me stay at the house so long as I kept it clean. As I sat, I looked out into the garden to check out for anything scary in the dark. It was empty and black. I kind of wished we had a pet, a dog or a cat would be quite nice about now. But their hair always made me sneeze and my eyes go red and itchy, so that was out of the question. With that in mind, my dad said no, and even though I wouldn't mind it, it still kind of stung. At 9:22 p.m., I put the rest of the juice carton back in the fridge door and went over to the window. Hoisting myself onto the counter again, I glanced out into the garden and identified the shadows one by one just to make sure everything was in its place. The bushes were their usual shape. 2 small trees stood together by the back fence, and a metal table with 4 chairs sat casually on the patio. I'd like to check these things, which is largely why I wasn't really scared of the dark. I would always get up to investigate small noises in the night, and I hated sleeping with my face to the wall. If someone was in my room at night, I'd rather know about it so at least there was the faintest chance of getting away somehow. This meant that my worries were quickly put to rest, as I either found nothing downstairs but the radiator popping with heat, or opened my eyes to see an empty bedroom. Not knowing what could be making the odd noises coming from the kitchen or on the stairs or in my room is what makes my skin creep. At 9:30 p.m., I got down from the counter and wandered back into the living room to turn the TV off, and decided to take the rest of the juice upstairs. I went back to the kitchen, opened the fridge door, and stopped. Turning my head to focus outside, I could see someone standing in the garden. I quickly shut the fridge and turned off the light so they couldn't see me so easily. I moved slowly to lean on the kitchen counter to get a better look. All the doors were locked and all the neighbors were home. I took a moment to remind myself this. Still, my heart quickened a bit as I stood there straining to see his or even her shape in the darkness at the end of the garden. I had to keep glancing away to keep their fuzzy outline clear in my vision. They were standing very still and were a little thin, but that's all I could see. I couldn't tell anything else. "Oh," I said aloud. It was the garden umbrella leaning up against the back fence. I forgot we used it for barbecues. I smiled at myself, pleased that I didn't get too worked up, and went upstairs to my bedroom. I laid on the bed and propped my head up on a pillow, opening my laptop on my stomach to see if anybody was online. Apparently, someone else was bored and saw my name pop up. From Chris. Hey, you okay? Yeah, bored, but what can you do? Are your parents still away? Yeah, for a couple more weeks. Why don't I come around? I don't want to be rude, but I kind of can't be bothered to hang out tonight. Thanks, though. I know what you mean. It's cool. What about tomorrow? Yeah, that sounds better. Cool. I'll be around 1. I've got some family stuff to do in the morning. Okay. Do you still have a tent, by the way? We could camp in the garden or something. Aw, slumber party. I love you too, bro. Whatever. You got the tent, though? Yeah, somewhere. Let me check. Be right back. I got up from my bed and headed to check the cupboard under the stairs. I didn't know where the tent was, but it seemed like a good place to start. I opened the cupboard door and started shifting coats around inside. Some cardboard boxes were stacked up at the back and might be hiding it. So I started unstacking them, carefully placing them onto the floor next to everything else. I took out a couple just to reach the easy ones, and had a stroke of good luck as the tent bag came into view. I leaned over the boxes and picked up the bag, and took the big garden umbrella that sat beside it too, just in case it rained tomorrow. I paused. I put the tent down. It took me a couple of seconds to get back to the kitchen window and focus on the darkness outside. My eyes weren't adjusted yet to the dark, so I couldn't see all the way to the back fence. Turning off the kitchen light, I leaned on the counter and continued staring at the same point. The other garden features began to fade into view one by one, fitting my previous mental image. I wasn't sure what I wanted to see. The darkness gave way to familiar forms I knew, but after a while, I was certain there still stood a figure against the back garden fence. It hadn't moved. I stood there for 15 long minutes just looking at it. Couldn't tell its shape properly, but it did look like someone just standing there. I decided it wasn't a threat, at the very least. I thought if I was any real danger, I would have been a lot more worried by now. That thought kept me calm, surprisingly. But I also wanted to find out what it was. I couldn't stand there forever. I jogged upstairs, picked up my laptop, and brought it down with me to the counter. To Chris. Could you come around now?
Oh?
Yeah, I think I see something in my garden.
Well, what is it? An animal?
No, it's tall. I thought it was an umbrella.
And you're sure it isn't?
I don't know. I thought it was someone, but now I'm not sure if it's a person. It just looks weird, and I don't think it was there before.
Before when?
I don't know. Earlier today, maybe? I can't remember.
Are you scared?
I'd feel better if someone else was here.
Well, I did offer to come around, and I am bored.
So, yeah?
Yeah, I'll come soon.
Cool, thanks. Make sure you use the front gate. I sat there watching the black shape leaning against the back fence for another 10 minutes. Eventually, the doorbell rang, and I opened it, and Chris ran in and bear hugged me.
Oh, it's been too long,
Chris cried. Yeah, it must have been a whole day, I retorted, smiling.
Oh, the torment,
he replied, pretending to ignore me. Look, come over here, I said, pushing him off and walking to the kitchen. I switched off the light and pointed in the figure's direction. Look.
Give me a sec,
said Chris.
I can't see properly.
A minute later, he noticed
that black thing over there? By the back fence.
Yeah. We both stood there, looking at it for a while. I half expected it to be gone when he looked. He leaned over the counter.
It's just a big plant or like a wood or something. Let's go watch TV.
Will you check with me to make sure? I asked.
Do you have a flashlight?
He returned. No, I don't, I admitted.
Well, we could check if we keep the kitchen light on and open the back door a little,
he offered. I thought for a second and agreed, but said we should stay right by the house. We slipped on our shoes and opened the back door. Stepping onto the patio, I felt the air was heavy and warm that night. Chris walked behind me. We stood very close to the door, peering at the back fence. Should we... Just as I had started to speak, he quickly stepped into the house again, still looking at the fence. What? I asked, following him in. I turned and realized that the figure was gone. It was obvious from the light coming from the back door that the fence and the rest of the garden was just as it always was.
Where is it?
Chris asked. If it was leaning against the fence, it probably fell over into a bush or something. I tried to convince us both. We stared out for a few seconds longer and decided that we were just too nervous to go and check. I don't usually give in to my night terrors, but now they were just beginning to click in my head. Can you stay over for the night? I asked Chris.
Yeah, sure.
It didn't sound like he really wanted to. He kept his eyes on the fence. We both went inside and locked the door before going up to my room. I got out a sleeping bag for Chris and drew the curtains without looking outside to the garden again. We talked about stupid stuff for a couple of hours to just take our minds off the garden and finally managed to fall asleep. In the morning, I found Chris's sleeping bag empty. I called out to Chris and he said he was downstairs, so I threw on a t-shirt and went downstairs. Sleep well? I asked.
Yeah, pretty well, but I kept thinking about the garden and stuff. Hey, did you find that tent you returned?
Yeah, I answered, remembering that shape which I had forgotten about until now.
Well, I was thinking about the camping thing and thought maybe we could bring the tent to my house. It would just make a change, you know?
I didn't have to ask him why. I wasn't keen on staying in my garden after last night. Wait, last night? Come to think of it, the sun was up, and I wanted to check the garden when it wasn't pitch black outside. I asked Chris, and he hesitantly agreed. We put on our shoes again and stepped out into the garden. I don't know what we were so worried about. It was bright and colorful. The plants and bushes around the edge of the garden smelled amazing, and there was a bird in one of the small trees singing out for its mate somewhere. We walked to the back fence to find nothing out of place. We looked over the bushes at the front of the paneling to check if anything lay behind them. We found nothing. I walked around the edge of the whole garden once more while Chris tried whistling to the bird. He cocked its head from side to side, trying to figure him out. It was a warm day, perfect for camping that evening. We talked as we filled a couple of rucksacks with sleeping bags and some food from the kitchen. We didn't want to set up a fire, so we packed some tinned hot dogs, bread, and a packet of tomatoes and chocolate, as well as some bottles of water.
There's a forest just next to my house, which is actually pretty good, Chris explained. Our garden goes our garden backs onto the edge of it. I stayed in the tent there once with my dad for my first little camping trip when I was like 7. I remember I was so excited at the time. I thought we were really roughing it like some hardcore mountaineers. If we get too cold or need more food, we can just go into my house. My parents are out, so we'll have free run of the place anyways.
Yours are away too? I questioned.
Yeah, it's their anniversary, so they're out for the night, he explained. They're staying in a hotel in the next town over. They'll be back in the morning.
Apparently, leaving your kids behind and was in fashion this summer. How ironic. About noon, we left my house with 2 rucksacks, a sleeping bag for each of us, and the tent, and made our way to Chris's house. It was fairly close by, a part of the same pleasant little neighborhood. We talked and joked a lot, walking side by side, nodding and greeting a couple of familiar neighbors as we went. It was a crazy, nice day. The sun was almost too much. It was hot on our necks, and the trees by the sidewalk seemed to glow green from underneath as the sunlight passed through the leaves. A sprinkler offered us some water as we walked by one house, and it felt amazing on the hot skin. I was already sweating by the time we got to Chris's place. We hadn't been walking for more than 20 minutes. We didn't go inside his house immediately because it was just so hot, so we went straight back to his garden and dumped our bags in the shade. He wasn't even joking. The gate of his garden backed straight onto an impressive stretch of forest. Very tall, thin trees stood high above the house and continued as far as I could see. Some bushes and shrubs littered the forest floor, and most of it was either grass or fairly smooth sections of dirt. I didn't see how this forest classed as quote-unquote small.
Looks good, right?
He boasted. It's amazing, I admitted, opening the gate and surveying the area. I walked out in between the trees and found a small, flat spot for a tent. I turned around to ask Chris's opinion and paused, a little disappointed. It didn't feel like real camping when his house was so obviously in our faces. Let's go a little further in, so it at least feels legit, I asked, and walked back to pick up my bags. Chris objected to carrying his, quote, heavy shit any further. We walked in a straight line from Chris's house and kept checking behind us until the house was just obscured by trees in front of each other. We'd only got a very short way in, but the forest was already much thicker and greener. There was even a long rope swing hanging from one of the trees, and it looked too old to hold our weight, so we decided to keep our spines unbroken and just give it a miss for now. I unpacked the tent and set it up with Chris's help. We threw our sleeping bags inside. and I laid down inside the tent to test it out. It was so warm and humid that I just had to adjust my breathing for a second. I stepped out again and asked Chris if he had a flashlight for that evening. "Oh, I can do better than that," was his response, and he took off towards the house. I was too hot to run after him, so I just opened my rucksack and cracked open a bottle of water, downing half of it and putting the rest back in the pack. I'd laid down on the patch of grass and looked up at the canopy. The leaves were shifting gently in a breeze I couldn't feel from down here, and I watched them sway and mesh together until I heard Chris return. "Did you get a flashlight?" I asked, closing my eyes. The sun shone through my eyelids and colored my vision red. I listened to the soft sound of his footsteps on the grass as he walked past me towards the rope swing. "It's not gonna hold you," I warned as I heard him tug the branch with a small creak. He tugged it, and it creaked in response. I listened. He tugged it once more, and again. There was a moment of silence, as I guessed he was still weighing it up, and then another tug. He continued to tug at it a few more times, and a creaking followed each one. I was sure it wouldn't hold its weight. It was too old and decrepit and probably riddled with dry rot. But I smiled, predicting one big creak and then a snap, or the branch broke. I waited until some final tugs were made. Creak, creak. I waited still. Creak, creak, creak. "Yo!" I heard Chris's voice coming from his garden. I sat bolt upright, almost spraining my neck as I snapped my head sideways to face his house. He was jogging through the trees, holding an electric lantern. I switched my gaze in the other direction, towards the rope swing. It was hanging still. Nothing nearby. I stood up and turned a full circle. Nothing in either direction. Any direction. What? I mouthed to myself, walking towards the rope. I tugged it gently. It didn't creak. I pulled it harder. It didn't creak. My mouth went dry. I jumped up, grabbed hold, and yanked down. The branch bent a little as my feet touched the floor, and still didn't make a sound. I kept hold of it as I stared up towards the branches, but eventually the rope gave way under my weight somewhere in the middle. A soft thud fell in my ears as the thick rope fell in front of me. Chris was rattling the lantern as he came by. "I've never used this thing before. I got it for Christmas for my cousin. She buys some weird presents. I see the swing is dead finally. Let's have a proper burial in memory of all the joy it gave us." I didn't respond. Continued looking up at the branch with half a rope swing tied to it. "Hey, are you good?" Chris followed my gaze. I thought you'd already come back," I said immediately. I wasn't the type to let things slide on, and "Oh, it's nothing." "What?" he replied. "Someone walked by me and was messing around with the rope swing." "Who was it?" I don't know. Are they still around?" I don't know. I had my eyes closed and was just laying there. I pointed, and then I heard you shout, and so I looked around and there was nothing here. I heard them walk by my head. I felt a bit sick. "Look, calm down a second," Chris began. "It's the middle of the day. We're like 30 feet from my house. Even if it was a person, so what? It's just some public woods. Anyone can come through here." That made some sense, and he was right about it being public. But then, where were they? I glanced around one more time, however. The trees quickly layered up, and I couldn't see far at all. I guess it was possible for me to lose track of someone in here in such a short distance. Okay. Man, I can stay in the house. I can stay alone in the house for weeks on end, but I can't handle a short walk through the woods on a summer day. What's wrong with me? "That's why you brought some muscle," declared Chris, wielding the lantern above his head, and I laughed. We spent the day walking around the forest and returned to the tent to get some water when we were too hot. We talked about school and what our plans for the future. We talked about dreams we had and about ghosts and about creatures that lurked in the dark. Neither of us were too scared of things like that, but hey, they made for good camping stories. Chris told a particularly good one of a woman who lived in the woods. She had the head of a cat, and if you heard her raspy meowing, it meant she was trying to find you. If she stopped meowing, it signified that you found, and she was quickly making her way right towards you. It made my skin crawl a little bit, but it was all in good fun. We stopped telling stories soon after that. The light of day eventually faded, and it was getting harder to see, so we headed back to the tent for the night. The impressive heat of the day had killed our appetites, so we left the food for now and decided we'd eat it in the night if we got hungry. Chris hung the electric lantern in front of the tent, flicking it on as he did so. It was surprisingly bright and spilled a yellow light onto the ground and onto the trees that faced us. The warm glow looked a bit dramatic, but whatever was beyond the light was hidden in blackness. Our immediate area was clear, but after a few paces, the light seemed to just stop dead and looked weird. Chris ducked under the tent opening, and I followed him. The sleeping bags looked inviting as the heat from earlier had gone, and it was now too cold for shirts and shorts. We got inside and took the lantern with us. "Can you hear meowing?" I said, tilting my head as I strained to hear.
Yeah, I can hear some bullshit too.
Chris smiled and zipped up his sleeping bag. Damn, I thought I had him. Oh well. I zipped up my own sleeping bag, and we lay there for a little while talking. And then the exhaustion of such a hot summer's day hit us, and we fell asleep. I had an odd dream that we were walking to Chris's house again, but there were far more trees than before. And it was getting dark very quickly. I blinked, and suddenly it was night, with the forest spiraling in every direction. The rope swing hung in front of me. I turned around, and Chris was gone. I heard a creak from behind me. A feeling came over me like I'd missed a step on the stairs. Fucking Jesus Christ, sorry, my shit lagged out for a second. For some reason, I couldn't turn around. I started walking forwards again. Just the rope swing came into view once more. I was aware I was in a nightmare. The rope swing slowly lifted itself up into the trees, and I watched it disappear. I walked over and stood beneath where it had been, and there was a rustle above me in the leaves. As I lifted my eyes to the canopy, a black figure with the head of a cat came hurtling down towards me with its mouth open horrifically wide. One of its teeth touched my left eye, and I tore myself awake, gasping as I sat up in the tent. My back was damp with sweat, and Chris was still asleep next to me. The lantern was still on, and I could see our backpacks at the end of the tent. I took a moment to just breathe and let myself come back down. My head thumping on the floor a little bit too hard. I winced and reached for the bottle of water at my side, downing a few mouthfuls. I couldn't fall asleep with the glow of the lantern on my eyelids, so I sat up and searched the tent for it. I quickly realized the light was coming from outside. "Chris?" I asked, quietly, still confused from sleep. He mumbled something in reply. "Chris! Hey, Chris! Where's the lantern?" Somewhere," he said slowly and sleepily before turning over in his sleeping bag. Looking around again, the light was obviously coming from outside. I weighed up the options. Either some murderer had snuck into our tent and done nothing but take the lantern outside, or we didn't actually bring it into the tent and remembered it wrongly. That sounded more convincing, so I knelt by the tent door and unzipped it. From the opening, I looked around, and I wasn't immediately obvious where the glowing was coming from. Why couldn't I see it? I looked up. The lantern was resting 20 feet straight up in the air, just hanging in the darkness. Goosebumps swept across my skin, and I quickly zipped the door up before shaking Chris awake. Chris, please, wake up! He heard the urgency in my voice and sat up. What's wrong? What is it? He asked, rubbing at his eyes. The lantern, it's hanging outside. But I brought it in, he assured me. I felt sick as my reasoning broke. We both looked at the front of the tent. We should go back to the house, I said, my resolve buckling. I was just a kid in a forest whose parents were away. What else was I meant to feel? I'm not walking through the dark, he replied. Chris was now looking worried. We got a lantern. I stopped myself. We looked at the front of the tent again. We couldn't sit there forever. We were getting scared as we sat there, just doing nothing. So, we made a plan. We weren't going back to sleep. We'd get the lantern back somehow, leave everything here, and just spend the night in Chris's house. I hated being the one to go first. I wanted to just turn back, even just crouching by the tent entrance. Unzipping the fabric door, I looked around. Nothing. Peered over the tent behind us. Nothing in sight. Literally nothing. Everything was pitch black outside of the light. I took a step out, and it was bitterly cold. Chris said the same as he stood right by my side, looking over his shoulder. He turned back and saw the lantern in the air. Oh my god. We stood there, looking at it for a few seconds that seemed to crawl by. Eventually, I worked out which tree it was hanging from. The broken rope swing at my feet confirmed it. Way up, out of reach, the lantern hung above our heads, tied to the other end of the rope that still dangled from the darkness. I couldn't work it out. No matter how hard I tried, I just couldn't figure it out. It was high up, too high for even a ladder. The trees were thin and bare besides the leaves that made up the canopy. There was nowhere to climb. Picking up the length of rope that snapped off earlier, I bundled it up and tied it in a knot and aimed it at the lantern. I took a step back and jumped, tossing it into the air. I caught the lantern on its side and sent it swinging. It threw shadows rocking around us. I suddenly wished I didn't hit it. The light made the shadows lean from side to side with the lantern. A horrible, unnatural swaying made me panic, and my eyes became wet with fear as it took hold of me. I picked up the rope again and lobbed it desperately at the lantern. Fuck, I missed. The bundle of rope sailed off into the darkness. Helplessly, I turned to Chris, who had already grabbed his backpack. He spun around and threw it with a yelp as it hit the lantern dead on. Fell and thudded to the floor with a crack, but thankfully, the light was still on. I ran to pick it up. I turned to Chris and almost cried with relief. Okay, go, let's go, now, I urged. And he started jogging quickly towards his house as I followed. We half ran, half stumbled off into the dark, checking over our shoulders and working ourselves up as our thoughts were consumed by everything that may be waiting in the trees for us. I don't know how long we were moving, but it soon became apparent that Chris's house wasn't in this direction. For God's sake, where is it? Chris asked, tension taking hold of his voice. We'll have to find the tent and try again. A couple of tears were forming at the corner of his eyes. They were probably on mine too, but my heart was thumping so hard in my chest I didn't even notice. Okay. I took a breath and we turned around, heading in a straight line directly behind us. And then I felt a cold shiver run down my spine, filling my bones with dread. What if we didn't find the tent? What if we were lost? What if we had run too far? I couldn't stop myself from thinking that over and over and over and over again as we retraced our steps. We walked for what seemed like twice as long before the light finally fell on the side of the tent. A feeling of ill-placed relief washing over me. We ran up and stood close to its side, looking around and trying to figure out which direction we should go. The silence was like the buildup of a nightmare right before some horrible thing lurches out at you, screaming and slashing at you wildly. The comparison made me gag, and I scratched my eyes shut, the hair on my skin lifting. My temples were so hot, it felt like my brain was thudding against the sides of my skull. I couldn't even begin to guess where the house was. I couldn't even see about 10 feet from the lantern. And the rest from there, pitch black. There were no clues, no landmarks, nothing. Not even streetlights. Every direction looked wrong. Chris took the lantern from me and walked in a small circle, straining his eyes to try and see. I stayed put. Chris, turn it off. Chris, turn it off. I whispered to him hurriedly. What? He asked. I stepped quickly and quietly towards him, bringing my face to his. There is something inside the tent. Turn the light off. His gaze shifted past me towards the tent. He stood there, staring. We were standing on the left-hand side of the tent, and from this angle, I could just about see the unzipped door hanging open. But I remember leaving it that way. So that's what wasn't making me clench my teeth together. A few feet away, my rucksack sat outside on the dry earth, with the food I had packed now neatly arranged in a line trailing from it. Our sleeping bags were also nicely laid out, end to end, making the line of belongings lead straight into the mouth of the tent. I took a careful step forward so the light could pass more easily through the fabric. It couldn't have been a trick of the light. Something big and dark was obviously crouched with what I guess was its front facing the open door. God, I hated myself for not seeing it sooner. It didn't move at all, or even seem to breathe. It just sat, waiting for us to investigate the display it had made. Turn it off, I whispered again. Chris continued staring, his ears falling deaf to me. Chris, I pleaded in a whisper. A voice from nearby joined in. Chris. We both heard it, and blood fell in our veins. It came from inside the tent. A slow, strained rasp of a voice that sounded like a parrot copying a new word. The sound clicked across my skin and crept into my ears like hearing an animal's claws on hardwood. The light flicked off with a click that was too damn loud. Chris grabbed my shoulder and I clenched my fist close, painfully tight. We stood there in complete darkness. I didn't want to move, and I didn't want to stay. My brain fought for control as my legs waited for a decision, rooted in place like the trees around us. We breathed shallow, quiet breaths, darkness pressing on our eyes like water. Sweat ran down my neck. I couldn't see the tent. Something said, "Turn it off! Turn it off!" My stomach flipped inside out as the thing in the tent played with my words. I quickly grabbed Chris's hand and yanked him in the opposite direction. I ran like I never had before, Chris's legs thudding alternatively with mine. The sprint continued for about a minute. We lost ourselves as we ran through absolute darkness. I forgot where we were and I couldn't see what was in front of my face. I ran head on into a tree. My forehead struck the side with a sickening hollow knock. Sparks lit up inside my eyes as I choked back the pain. It hurt so much I couldn't breathe. Chris tried to pull me on, but I buckled to the floor on my knees and threw up. As I collapsed onto my back, my head went numb. Chris lifted me up. Please don't, please stop, please, please! He begged, but I just couldn't reply. Please, please keep going! I forced my legs to take my weight as I knocked my knees upright, leaning on Chris. My body felt empty and a little blood rolled down the side of my forehead and into my brow. I wiped it away as I tried to grasp the situation again, but the pain was too much. Wait, I can't. Just wait, please. We stood together in the inky black woods, but we could have been anywhere. Anywhere. I couldn't see Chris as he huddled next to me. It didn't feel like darkness. It felt like someone had wrapped my head in a blanket. Neither of us said a word as we just waited. But our breathing was loud, and I wondered from what distance could he be heard. Reality began to return to me, and the pain was now just about bearable. I straightened up, grasping at what was happening. Pins of fear sank into me a second time, and I started counting in my head. 1 minute passed without a sound in the woods. The wind was dead, and the birds might be too. Another minute went by, and I continued counting. 3 minutes. We were still alone. Was it even looking for us? I reached for Chris's arm in the dark. He jumped when I touched it, but I steadied him with the other. He was still holding the lantern. Good. Good, thank God. We at least had a little bit of light on our side. God, now if only we could use it. I went over the events hurriedly in my mind. The lantern was hanging from the tree. We got out of the tent, and then we couldn't find our way home. By the time we returned to the tent, something was in it. But then, why did it take the lantern and do nothing while we slept? If it was sheer luck that we were alone when we were trying to get the lantern, just wondered how small the possibility of us getting a second chance would have been. I stayed silent for a moment and whispered as best I could. Chris, we need to turn on the lighter. We need to fucking get away from here. We can make a run for your house, but we need to see. I stayed silent for a moment and waited for him to respond. No, please, we have to stay here. Chris tried to whisper too. We can't. We can wait for morning if we have to. We can't turn it on, please. I could hear in his voice that a sob was breaking through. Keep quiet. You fucking have to, please. I parted my lips to try again, but as I did, I heard something. A very, very faint clicking sound from somewhere in the dark. It was almost inaudible, but it was there. An irregular, stuttering, clicking noise. It sounded like fingernails on a wooden table. It was moving. It came from in front of us. I was sure of it. A steady click, click, click filled my ears. As we tried to gauge the distance, it was drawing closer. Click, click, click. Closer, closer. It was coming closer. It stopped. I felt my breath return to me. I was glad for the first time in my life that I couldn't see what was waiting for us in the dark. Perhaps that also meant we were hidden. As my thoughts fired off in every direction, I gave thing in the darkness, the image of the cat-headed woman. And it terrified me. God, it terrified me. I was just waiting to hear that goddamn meowing, but my ears were met with something else. Of course. I tensed my throat and tried not to cry. Chris. Chris. It said his name twice. I cut my hand over my mouth. The horrible screaming dialogue sounded a few steps away. The words were said oddly, with no meaning said behind them. They were just sounds that this thing had picked up, and now it was using us to catch us out in the dark. Chris let go of my hand, and I heard his foot plant softly on the grass behind him as he prepared to run. Don't you dare. Don't you fucking dare. I tried to project it into his mind. Don't you make a sound. Chris! It sounded so wrong. It drawn out like a door slowly opening. Chris let out a whimper as it called him. I froze and waited for something, anything to happen. There was a long silence and I held my breath for as long as I could. I couldn't wait anymore. It was very slowly. I reached out to Chris and I put my hand on his shoulder and very carefully we both lifted our feet and managed to step without making a sound. We stepped away from the voice and didn't stop moving, but ever so carefully. So slowly. I didn't care how long it would take us to get somewhere. If it took us an hour every step, we were going to get out of this damn forest. Chris backed into a tree and gasped audibly. The clicking started up immediately again. Click, 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 click. And it rolled on, consistently moving towards us. I didn't know what to do. All I could think was to screw my eyes shut and try not to scream. As we stood there, the clicking came to a stop. Just an arm's length away from where we stood. Silence. Chris, turn it on. Please. Chris. Fear took over. And Chris switched on the light and tore off in the other direction without even looking behind him. I wheeled in place and held the lantern in sight like nothing else existed. We didn't dare look at the thing, but we could hear it. Our footsteps thudded on the grass as the thing pursued us with a tap, 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 tap. Now like scurrying little claws on hardened earth. As I ran desperately to try and catch up with the light, the sound suddenly rose up behind me and over our heads, in between the trees. God, this wasn't happening. This wasn't happening. It was going to drop down on us. Turn! Turn now! I screamed. I didn't care anymore. If we were going to get out with our lives, we were going to have to run for them. Suddenly, we changed course. The tapping stopped for a moment, long enough for us to gain a few feet before it came in our direction again. My legs were cramping horribly, and Chris was gasping hard. We couldn't keep this up. Where were we? Where the hell were we? I saw the light from the lantern come to an abrupt halt up ahead. I didn't have time to stop and brace myself to thump into Chris, but the light passed beneath my feet. He had dropped the lantern. I turned my head and watched it recede off into the darkness. It was immediately too far for me to go back. The thing would be on me in a second. Chris! Chris, where are you? I was crying, wiping tears from my cheeks as I ran, preparing for my face to connect with a tree at any moment. Keep going! I heard Chris from up ahead. There's a light! My vision was blurry from the tears, but I could see it. An orange glow hanging in the air in that direction. Another one? What was happening? I wanted to scream at him to avoid it, but I realized... Oh my god, it was a streetlight. My legs felt like they were running through water, but I pushed harder and harder with the goal now in sight. Gradually and painfully, the light drew closer, as did the clicking. The thing could move like nothing I even knew about. I saw Chris's figure pass underneath the streetlight, and then it was gone again. Don't stop! Don't stop! Keep going! I yelled as I approached the edge of the forest. My legs adjusted to the forest as the forest floor gave way to solid footing. I could see a row of more streetlights leading off to the right. Chris's figure was passing regularly underneath each. When I was sure I was completely out of the trees, I didn't stop. I ran under several more streetlights, putting as much distance as I physically could manage between us and the edge of the woods. I realized after a while that the clicking had stopped. I needed to see if we were okay. I turned my head to look back along the row of lights, keeping my gaze on the first light. My pace slowed as the pain in my head and my legs came back. There was silence once more, and the lights revealed an empty pathway. I jogged on, kept my eyes on the glow, expecting to see something at any minute. But it lit up nothing but concrete and the edge of the road. Is it there? The question pulsed in my mind over and over and over again like a sickening migraine. As I turned my head to continue catching up to Chris, I caught sight of something pass under the first streetlight. An almighty shock went through me as my fears were confirmed. I let out a cry and picked up the pace once more, sprinting between the lights. The image was burned in my mind. I hardly barely got a glimpse of that thing, but it was fully white and massive. It almost brushed the streetlight as it went under. It had long, upright body full of kinks and bends, like it had been unfolded from a much smaller position. And that's all I was able to tell. It must have had a face and limbs, but I didn't have time to see. I didn't look again. The path gave way to more lights as soon as I could see the glow of some windows and some houses on either side of the road. I recognized where we were, close to my house by some miracle. A little further, and we would be there. My house! My house! Go to my house! I yelled. And Chris listened, turning left onto a side street and dashing down. With panic on my side, I reached the turning and looked down the road to see Chris jumping the fence into my garden. Hurry! Go inside! I yelled. Hurry up! I heard him scream back. Reaching the fence, I planted my hands on top and hoisted myself over, absolutely shredding my elbows in the process. My ankle stung as I thudded into the garden and sprinted towards the kitchen door. Chris stepped aside, gasping for air as I fumbled the key into the lock and wrenched it sideways. We both flew into the kitchen and slammed the door behind us. I locked it from the inside and we both sprinted upstairs into the bathroom, locking it behind us. What the fuck was that? What was that? I managed to say in a panic whisper, wondering if it could get in. Did you see it? No. Chris was crouched under the window, letting tears roll down his face. Shit! It was so tall. It was... I couldn't... Don't tell me. Don't fucking tell me. Chris cut me off. I mulled it over and over again as we sat there. Minutes slowly ticked by into hours. My head was fizzing all the while, and I could hear its voice, the disgusting voice. My elbows and forearms were sticky with blood, and we both looked at the floor. The occasional sob coming from the two of us. Our hearts banged in our chest, and we spent the night that way. Light streamed in from the window, but we didn't unlock the bathroom door until noon. We crept downstairs. The kitchen door was still locked, and nothing was in the house. I looked out of the living room window. Another perfect day. No people walked by, but the sprinklers were on, and I could hear birds again. It certainly helped calm our nerves. That den can stay there, I said at last. Yeah, I agree, said Chris. We stayed in the living room with the TV off all day. We didn't know what to do, and talked about if we should call the police or something. The day crawled by as we tried to rake our thoughts together and think of what to do next. But all that went through my mind was what had just happened. Not what we should be doing. By the time it was dark, at about 9 p.m., the phone rang. It was Chris's parents asking if I had seen him, as they were getting worried. They had just got back into town. I let them know he was okay and asked if they could come by and pick us both up from my house because something had happened. They wanted to know what, but I said we'd both tell them when they'd get here. They said they'd be there soon. Relief washed over us as adults were on their way to make it to us and have everything be alright again. They would believe us. We didn't lie about these sorts of things. Even if they were skeptical, they'd at least believe that some dangerous animal was in the forest, and that was good enough for us. We went into the kitchen to get some juice from the fridge, and I realized I hadn't had a drink all day. I could hear water dripping in the sink, so I turned the faucet tighter and glugged some juice. As I headed towards the living room, the water started to tap again. I flicked the light on and realized it wasn't coming from the sink or anywhere in the room, for that matter. It sounded like it was coming from further away. I looked out into the garden. I could just about see a fuzzy, tall silhouette leaning up against the back fence in the dark. Actually, the tapping sounded more like clicking. This figure slowly moved away from the fence and clicked across the grass towards the house. And that was Turn It Off. God, what a heart-racing story. Goodness gracious. My God, that was really intense.
That was really good, yeah.
Whew.
Yeah, during that entire time, the fucking neighbors were drilling.
Yeah. And what's creepy is that guy is actually moving. I don't know if y'all can see that chat, but that guy is moving. And also, because I skimmed over it a little bit and read a bit about it, and I knew they were gonna be like running around, so I stood up for that whole thing, that whole story. Man, oh, am I tired?
Yeah, I saw that. You were
Goodness
moving
gracious.
constantly, sliding over and over.
Oh boy, but yeah, oh Jesus, what a fan fucking tastic story that was. Wow, I love hearing about creepy shit in the woods because like,
There's all sorts of shit that happens there.
all sorts of shit that happens there, cause like, you know, and I know, and everybody in chat knows, everywhere, all over the world, there's stories about things in the woods.
Love that.
Like, for me, here, obviously, I myself am not Mexican, but I grew up with several Mexicans, and obviously there's things like La Chupacabra, or La Llorona, things like that. Creepy shit, El Cucuy, the boogeyman, and things like that in the woods. And there's all sorts of things like, the Wendigo, skinwalkers, or flesh gates, as they say. Wild people drilling in the woods. Ooh.
Yeah, the swamp hag and whatever the fuck else. There's all sorts of things.
The Hag of Hackett's Quarry.
What the fuck?
Yes. God damn.
Swear to fucking God.
Here, I will run interference with noise from my fan because I am sweaty. All that like like fucking gets you, man. Chat, this is like the side that you guys don't see. Whenever I do these stories and I have to like, oh god, and I'm like fucking playing this shit up and trying to put like my acting chops to work. I always have to put my fan on afterwards to cool off, cause I am, this shit'll get you, man. I'm sweaty.
Also,
But yeah,
hello, 100.
Hi, 100. Oh man,
Fucking hell.
100. That fucking story. Oh man, I'm almost. You know what, 100? I'm almost glad you weren't here for that story. It was a story about a big, creepy creature chasing some people through the woods. Ooh. But it was really creepy. The thing that I like the most that is kind of like Fleshgate and like many other things before it that I'm pretty sure we read before on the podcast on stream. Was the mimicking of the voices. That is super fucking terrifying because it makes you paranoid, you know? Especially imagine if the first person character, the author, we'll say, and Chris had gotten separated in the woods, you know? And fucking it managed to actually replicate Chris's voice and was like, hey, come over here. I found a way out. Come on. You know? Type shit. And people always, even in their own homes in urban areas, have reported cases of things like mimics. And it's so scary. Shit, even in the most unassuming place, Uma fucking Musume, the fucking game, there is an encounter with Manhattan Cafe, Mayoshi, where she is helping you with a mimic outside your door, and she's like, you don't want to open the door. There is nothing out there that you want to see, type thing, you know? And it's terrifying. I love stories of things in the woods because it's such a swath of land, you know? And a lot of fucking to preserve nature and things like that, or because it's federally protected land, a lot of places don't have cell phone towers and things like that, so you have a hard time getting cell reception. Sure, there are radio towers for emergency purposes and for things like that, but they are pretty hard to come across, and it's so damn near impossible to spot somebody from the air at cruising altitude for helicopters and things like that to see someone walking around on the ground, and it's so terrifying. It reminds me now of the movie Ritual. The Ritual, fantastic film. It's about 4 guys who go out into the woods after a buddy of theirs had tragically passed in a armed robbery of a convenience store. So they wanted to do this trip to honor his memory. And as they go into the woods, they keep encountering weird shit. I won't spoil it too much, but wow, what a fantastic movie that is. I highly recommend it.
Yep. Those movies are fucking fantastic. Also, yes, that Hat Man is moving around. He just kind of teleports around.
Yes,
he walks down, and then every now and then he would pop up on that window.
Yes, it's very creepy. But yes, unfortunately, because my browser is still being a fucking shithead, I cannot read any more stories just now, but in the meantime, we could fill in the gaps with talking about some experiences that we might have had in the woods, or things like that. Scary stuff that we've experienced while we were home alone. Ooh.
Yeah, there's a bunch of weird things that have happened, and weird stories that I've also read. Because in my house, I've told this to my friends multiple times. It's nothing really too fucking weird, but I've lived in this apartment for 10, 20 years, maybe? I don't remember when I moved in here, because originally I was living, 1 block over in a different apartment on the 7th floor. Then I lived on the 5th floor in a smaller apartment, and then we moved over to this apartment. And I lived with my mom. I, of course, didn't have, both parents, whatever the fuck. My brothers already moved away and everything else. They're doing their own stuff, and eventually I started living with another person, and fast forward a little bit more, and I started living alone. Now, this is a big apartment. It's fucking 74 squares. That's pretty fucking big. So I have 2 bedrooms, I have a living room, kitchen, and of course you have the bathroom and the little corridor that connects them, a little L-shaped one. And I never used the other bedroom for anything, because, you know, when my mom moved away and all the other people moved away, they took all their stuff and everything else. We made sure that the closets were empty, the drawers were empty, whatever the fuck, there wasn't anything left basically there.
Right, right.
For some reason, also the fucking drillers upstairs who like to do renovation.
Ooh, this is extra spooky. Ooh.
Yeah, so there's also, like, I made sure there's basically nothing there. I have checked my freaking, like, balcony, everything else. It was completely fine. So, I checked every room. Every room is just basically as it is. I never really move anything around. I keep everything basically in pristine condition, unlike some people who need to be renovated.
Well, I mean, there is your door.
I mean, yeah, but that was this year. Actually, no, that was last year. Regardless.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you were talking about that shit last year.
Yeah. So, I started noticing some weird things happening around the apartment at one point. Because, like, apartments usually, if you look at, like, the bottom, like, usually at the bottom of all the walls and everything else, there's this little, I don't know what they call it in English, like that wooden thing that just goes, like, along it. I don't know what it's called.
Oh, the baseboard.
Yeah, the baseboard. Yeah, that. And every single room has that. Every single pod has it. It's completely perfectly placed and everything else. I looked on my balcony one day because I was just going there because it was a nice summer day and I just wanted to sit there for a tiny bit, and noticed I have an extra tile board. And I was like, okay, that's weird. It was never there before. I put it against the wall. That's fine.
Okay.
It's leaning against the wall. I went back inside, and a couple hours later, it's not there anymore. It's in the fucking second bedroom. Just like these guys renovating, apparently.
Allegedly.
And I'm like, okay, that's kind of weird. Maybe I moved it somewhere along that and I just forgot. And I'm like, okay, I'll just put it into, like, one of the fucking wardrobes. I open up one of the wardrobes. There's a fireplace poker.
Oh.
Mind you, we have... Motherfuckers. Never had a fireplace. I have never lived in a house that has a fireplace. Our cottage never had a fireplace. None of our family, friends, or relatives live in a place that has a fireplace. And I'm just staring at it like, it's full metal. It's old as shit, covered in dust and stuff. And I'm like, okay. I leave both of them there. And at this point, I started feeling a little bit weird about it because every day, at random intervals, both of these items aren't in that wardrobe anymore.
Ugh.
They
Ooh, I
were
hate that.
constantly swapping places, which was weird. Really freaking weird,
really
because I would
fucking
find
weird.
them sometimes in the fucking living room on a couch. And I would be looking at it like, why?
What the fuck?
I would just look at them and be like, I'm not touching that shit. I would go outside, go to the store, come back, look, they're not there. I'm like, okay, where are they this time? I keep finding them in different rooms, but never in the kitchen, never in my bedroom. Maybe up a renovator's asshole if he keeps doing that. But he kept swapping places. Now, this doesn't sound scary on its own, it's just weird. But
I don't know, man. That sounds pretty fucking terrifying, dude. I would think somebody would be in my house.
yes, that would
Like
be
those
scary.
renovators.
Yeah, like those renovators apparently. But here's
Fucking
where
hell.
it gets a bit fucking creepy. So
Oh,
I've
boy.
I've probably told this a few times, but I can't sleep without sound.
Okay.
No matter where I am. Okay, that one didn't pick up on the microphone apparently. No matter
God.
where I am, no matter where I live, or where I've slept, if I don't have sound, I will start hearing a croaking sound. It is a
see.
weird, goggling, croaking sound, and at this point, people have told me, oh yeah, it's just sleep paralysis, you just can't move your body and everything else. Okay, yeah, that's fine. Understandable. However, the croaking sound will get louder. It will approach. I will physically feel the bed or whatever the hell I'm on start pressing downwards, and I can feel it creeping closer and closer and closer until it's right in my ear, at which point I jolt up and I will not be able to fall asleep at all for the next day or two.
Oh no, I hate
And
that.
this
I hate that a
sound-
lot.
This sound has followed me to my friend's apartment, to the cottage,
Mm-hmm.
everywhere.
Right.
Now-
Right.
I started living with another person at some point, and when I went to a friend's place to like stay there for like a night because I was seeing them in a different town,
Mm-hmm.
my apartment was completely fine. Nothing weird happened there. The stuff didn't move or anything else, apparently. According to this roommate, stuff
Right.
did not move. However, in my friend's place, when I went there, mind you, there was a massive blackout that happened as soon as I got there. It was as soon as I got there.
Mm-hmm.
The town had a full blackout the entire way through.
Ooh.
We got to his apartment. The power came back on normally, and as we were trying to we were very tired. It was very late. Like we tried to sleep and everything else. Mind you, he started hearing the croaking, which he has never heard in the middle of the night.
Ooh,
That
no,
thing
I hate
follows
that.
me.
I hate that, thanks.
Yes.
Like him! The headman!
Yes. And it's just a weird thing that I've grown so accustomed to, but I still get very angry because if I sleep without sound, it will happen. And
Mm-hmm.
for me, this is the most natural thing ever, but it's so fucking weird. Because it goes everywhere, even to our cottage when I was a kid. I would be at the cottage, like far, far up north, next to this like little summer camp that they have, a Christian camp, from what my grandpa told me. And
Right.
I had to sleep separately from everyone else because, well, mind you, in that cottage there is no way that we have like TV playing normally. So I would have to sleep in a separate room, like next to the sauna, with a radio on, purely because if I didn't have that, they would hear the sound.
Right.
So my
right.
grandpa and grandma knew something weird was going on with me. But they just,
Shit, dude, I'd be throwing your ass out the fucking window at that point, bro. Shit, hell nah.
yeah, and like they can't sleep if there's sound, which is completely fine. But if there's silence, they will hear the sound as well. So they had me sleep
Yeah, like the sound of the
separately.
contractors.
Yeah, like the sound of the contractors. Apparently, fuck off.
Apparently.
Fucking drilling. Luckily, this is the last day that they're doing this. Apparently. Apparently,
Oh, thank Christ.
our favorite word.
Apparently.
Yeah, but that's one of the creepiest things that's happening to me and is still happening. I don't know why, but it happens that way. And also, I realized at some point, here's an audio scary thing to everybody. I looked at my OBS. Just as I got here, I decided to look at my OBS. My audio was broadcasting twice from my microphone. Not your voice, not the whole world, just my microphone was double broadcasting. For about 15 minutes.
That's terrifying. Ooh, spooky. That's the scariest thing here on this fucking episode of the Midnight Zone. Tentacle issues. Oh.
Yes! I mean, I have like actual proper like scary experiences as well, like during nighttime, for
yeah.
example. Because there's a store that I like to go to during summer, because not during winter. Fuck that shit. It's fucking cold and shit.
Nah.
But it's open 24/7.
Yeah.
It's about what 4 kilometers away from me, and I live in a little crater town, basically. I call this a crater town because the land rises all around this place. It's surrounded by a big forest,
Right.
and there's also the sea, like 15 minutes if I just go like that direction to the right. Regardless, this forest is kind of fucking weird at times, especially at night. Because for years on end, people have reported that there's been contractors. No.
There's been oil contractors drilling in the trees.
No, they've reported that there's been weird sightings of things happening there. Because, believe it or not, this forest was a old dumping ground. it was a garbage dump
Oh,
at
boy.
one point before I was born for many years. So of course a lot of things are buried there. There's old cars that have been spotted, and every now and then, like, there's been people who look a bit strange going around that area. And sometimes
Oh,
they've
boy.
reported that things have risen from the ground.
Ooh, no, fuck that.
Regular things can be understood, like, you know, for the ground might move because there might have been, like, I don't know, somebody might have been digging, or there might have been a little tiny earthquake. We don't get earthquakes here, we just... Some stuff happens every now and then, because the earth is the earth. And
Right.
pipes, metal rebar, whatever the heck, those things, they pop up every now and then from the ground. That's understandable. But they've sometimes found bones.
Ooh, spooky. Oh man, that reminds me of something that happened when I was a little kid. Okay, so if you guys don't remember me ever like mentioning this to you whenever I'm in stream, whenever really, I am actually from the American South. I was born in North Carolina, but I lived in South Carolina for a large portion of my life until I was about 22. So, I think this story took place about I remember specifically my brother was in high school and he's about 6 years older than me, so he was probably like 16, 17. I was probably like 10, 11 years old. So I was out on a walk with my biological mother, right? And you know, things in like the South are usually like kind of creepy because there's things like hunters and stuff who just like dump bodies and things. Animals pass away all the time, garbage and things like that on the side of the road. But when me and my mother were walking along, and this was it was a road. So my brother's high school was at an intersection, right? And it was that way, down that road, and then a little bit further down this part of the intersection, and we were walking that way. We found, or at least what my mother told me, is that she found what appeared to be probably trash or something, like a big old thing of trash. And so she walked over to it, and then she got really quiet, and then she was like, okay, come on, let's go. And I'm like, huh? What? Okay, whatever. And so we finish our walk, we go back home, and I hear my mother talking to my brother in the kitchen. And I kind of like listen in, because I was going to ask what we were going to have for dinner. And so I'm listening in, and she's like telling him, oh, you be safe, you take that pepper spray that I gave you, you come straight home, and you tell me when you're about to get home, you tell me when you get off of school, things like that. And he's like, yeah, okay, I got it. It's like, are you sure that that's what they found? Like, she's like, yes, it doesn't matter though. I want you to be safe. And I'm like, huh, what the fuck is she talking about? Come to find out, like a couple days later, maybe like a week or so later, they found out what that shit was. It was a skeleton of a person. Someone was dumped there.
Jesus.
There was a whole investigation and everything. They fucking my brother was out of school for a little bit. They fucking tried to track down any missing persons cases. Nothing. They couldn't find anything. So they suspected that it might have been someone from either out of the state or even out of the country. It was really terrifying. That was the closest encounter I've ever really had with some kind of like weird happening involving like stuff in the woods and death.
Yeah, those are freaking weird. There's, like, it is always freaky, especially when you, like, start listening to, like, old stories from, like, other families and people. Because, I think it's my uncle, and that's a renovator again, who's going to be found in a garbage can. That's a joke.
Soon.
So, my uncle is, I think, what the heck is he's called, like, a game watcher? Whatever the heck? Those, like, forest rangers who, like, make sure that...
game watcher.
Yeah, it's those people who you go, for context, people who go into the forest, make sure the hunters are actually doing the things correctly, are being illegal,
Yes.
whatever the heck, using, like, bear traps if they're not allowed, whatever the fuck. And he lives in a pretty remote area. I think he's my uncle. I don't remember. My family fucking tree is kind of fucking weird. I don't fucking remember. Regardless,
Yeah.
we went there years ago when my grandma was still alive. My grandma has passed away about 3-4 years ago. I don't remember when she passed away. It's been a while. Anyways, their place is this 2 or 3 story building. I can't really tell because I have memories of when it was only 2 stories tall, but memories of when it was 3 stories tall. Which is the weirdest part for me. And I would always sleep on the ground floor, of course, because now that we're talking about buildings, the ground floor is always the one that you enter from. Whenever I say the first floor, I mean the same floor as the ground floor. That is how I've always said it, and that's how we refer to it over here. But
Yeah.
that's neither here nor there. I remember going to their place like years ago with my grandma, and I was staying on the first floor in the bedroom because it was late at night. I was sleeping, everything else, and then I had the massive urge to go to the bathroom. Of course, it's right next to the door, so I would just exit, immediately turn to the right, and there would be the bathroom. And I got in there, and as soon as I got out, I realized something weird because in front of me there's the staircase that leads upstairs. On the left, there's a little storage closet that I never wanted to enter because it was always so freaking dark, full of weird things, and I was like, you know what? I'm not going there in case there's like something that he has that's dangerous to me.
Oh, the fucking
Batman.
Batman. He came out from behind like a fucking the window frame and it freaked me out. Sorry. Continue.
Yeah. So I never noticed this, but next to the staircase, there was a door. I had never seen this door before, beyond all these years that I've gone there. And
Right.
I was like very sleep deprived and everything else. I was like, what the fuck? That's kind of weird. It was unlocked. It was slightly ajar.
Oh boy.
I walked up to it slowly in my fucking sleeping stupor. I was like, what the fuck? Maybe it's just... I slightly pulled it open and I looked down. There was like this very cold gust of wind coming from down there. It led further downwards. And I'm just staring at it like, do I go in? Or do I not? I don't see a light switch either, which is the freakiest part. Now, mind you, this was when I was like, what, 14, 15? So I was a young wee lad, and I was like, staring at it for what, good 10 minutes before I decided to just close it and go back and sleep. And when I woke up the next morning and walked outside the room, that doorway is not there.
What the fuck?
I asked my uncle about this, and he gave me the weirdest look ever, but also I realized something weird that he never does. He tilted his head slightly. He never tilts his head unless something catches his attention properly. And he basically just was like, no, we don't have that, and then slightly tilted his head, looked at me before just getting back straight, and I'm like, okay. I didn't bother to ask him about that, but he disappeared for the rest of the day. I don't know where he went, and I spent most of my day outside with the dogs and the chickens because he had chickens as well there. The dogs were really fun and everything else, but when he came back during the evening, nobody asked where he went. I didn't ask him either. I was like, okay, maybe he went to do his job and everything else. But his truck was there the entire day, right next to the house, and they only had one car.
Oh boy. Right.
His boots had like mind you, this is during summer, because we went there during summer, of course. You know how when the like first snow starts happening and you start walking through and like in a very muddy area, like that mud is weirdly like crystallized almost.
Right.
He had that same kind of mud at the bottom of his
On
shoes.
his boots?
Yeah,
What? What the
Yeah.
fuck?
during midsummer. So I'm just left
I
wondering
see.
what the fuck was that, and I never pestered him, asked him, or anything about it. I have never gone back there either, in all these years.
Ugh,
I probably should at
that's
some point.
terrifying.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
the fact that there's a mysterious door that I don't see anymore, and the way that he acted, it's weird.
Mm-hmm. Man, that reminds me of another situation. So, when I was very little, like even before the whole thing with finding the body and stuff, I used to live in a country called Nicaragua, right? And I lived there on a farm. It was me, my mother, my father at the time, my brother, and a couple of farm hands, and then we had a neighbor all the way over that way called Doña Lupita. And it was a big plot of land. We had animals, plants, all sorts of things. So, we started trying to raise some geese on our farm so we could, like, you know, sell the meat, sell the eggs, things like that. And when we first got, like, the first week that we got, like, some geese and we had them in a little coop and stuff, we noticed that there was, like, scratch marks on the fucking ground, like, in front of the door. But they were kind of big. Kind of like big scratch marks. Like, you know how a dog looks, or like even a wolf or a coyote, the scratch marks look pretty uniformly sized for like the paws of like a canine, but these were like slightly bigger. I wouldn't go as far to say as they were like a bear or something, but they were like definitely a little bit bigger than like a wolf's paws or a coyote's paws. And they were like all like something was trying to dig into the coop to get the geese. And so my father, his buddy, who was like my uncle, and then a couple of the farm hands were like, okay, we gotta, because this was like a time when security cameras were really a thing. I was maybe like 5 years old.
Gary! Thanks for the subscription with
Gary!
Prime! How you doing?
Thank you! So,
Appreciate it.
fucking, my dad, or sorry, my father, my uncle, and then some of the farm hands, were like, okay, if this shit happens one more night, we know what we need to do. So they waited, and then the next morning, they went back out to check, and the fucking chicken wire on the coop that they had built was like starting to be like peeled up a little bit, and like some of the goslings had gotten out. And they were like, all right, we know what we need to do. So, jeez, motherfucker, the headman, anyways, headman. So, what they did was, cause you know we were simple folk, country folk, they went into town to the general store and they bought a couple of bear traps, and they set up some stuff around. They fixed the coop and all that stuff, and they kept the goslings, like the little babies, in a different area so whatever this fucking thing was wouldn't get them, and they kept the older geese in there. So they waited a couple nights, nothing really happened. They found some more scratch marks, some of the logs that they kept nearby, the logs that they had kept nearby for like fires and things like that was like knocked over. They found some things missing. One of the horses got spooked by something, but for like a week or two straight nothing really happened, and they kept everything as they did when they set it up. And then finally, after like into the last couple days of the second week, right, they actually caught something. So I was just a little kid. I was like sleeping because I had school the next day, and I heard my father and my uncle like rustling around, and like, oh, they were like, okay, dale, go, and stuff like that. And they're like talking to each other in Spanish and shit. And I hear the farm hands like rustling around. It's like, no sabemos qué es. We don't know what it is. ¿Qué chingado es esto? Like, ¿qué animal es this? What animal is this? And so they're like whispering and like shining lights and shit. And I just barely remember my brother sitting on the edge of my bed, and he gives me one of my bears that I had on my bed, and he's like, oh, shh, go to sleep, stay asleep. And I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. So I go back to sleep, and then the next morning, I overhear my mother and my father talking, and she's like, oh, what, did you guys get rid of that thing? What was it? And I come in, I'm like, hey, what's going on? And they're like, oh, we finally caught the thing. It was like a badger or something. I'm like, oh, okay. But the way that they were like talking about it, and like kind of just like, shh, don't let the kids know, don't let the kids know. And even my brother, who was not even a fucking teenager at that point, he was like very young still. He was even acting like kind of skeezy about it, kind of just like being a little too nice to me, because you know, older brothers, they're always fucking assholes to you when you're young. He was like being extra nice, like, hey, you want to go into town on the dirt bike? You want to go to the candy shop? We can even visit your friends in town. I'm like, oh yay. And like I never really thought about it until many, and I mean many years later, when I was 18, 19, living on a Air Force base with my current ex, and I was like hearing noises of like creatures outside. I'm like, oh man, that kind of reminds me of like this thing that happened. And so I explained it to my ex, and he's like looking at me all weird, like, what the fuck? And you didn't question it for like forever? I'm like, no, of course I didn't. I was a kid. What was I meant to do? And I still, to this day, I have no idea what the fuck they caught in one of those traps. It could have been anything, but it apparently sure wasn't a fucking badger, that's for damn sure.
Maybe it was like that,
hell.
maybe it was like that fucking deer that walked on two legs.
No, that's even the thing. In that part of the country, there were no deer.
Jeebus.
There really aren't deer in those sorts of places. So to even think about like what the fuck it could have been freaks me the fuck out. Super bad. And mind you, we were very far from like the main city, Matagalpa, and it was super creepy. It was so creepy to think about. I was like, man, I really never questioned that. Even after like 5 years, my father leaving and then coming back to America, fucking my mother of all these years just never brought it up. Nothing. And when I brought it up to her after I had talked to my ex, she was like, huh? What are you talking about? Nothing happened.
What the fuck?
What? Yeah, so either she's lying to me or like, I don't know, something, but I never heard of it anything about it ever again. I still don't know what the fuck was caught in that damn trap. It was so creepy.
That's fucking insane.
It's super insane.
Like
Oh,
there's
boy.
all these weird situations that happen both online and like offline.
Oh yeah, for sure. But yeah, I'm glad we were actually able to thankfully pad out the rest of this little time with what we could while my fucking browser's being stupid. I managed to get the web pages working again and stuff, but we don't have enough time sadly to read anything else, so I think we might have to just cut it here for now.
We can still keep
we
talking
can
a
have a fun
tiny
time
bit.
talking about shit. Yeah,
like,
we could talk just like a little bit.
Yeah, because there's like these because we've been talking about like real life weird things that happen to us and everything else, and like not really knowing what the hell happened. But then there's also these funny, weird, strange occurrences that happen also in like this virtual reality.
Oh yeah. Tell me and chat about the backpack story in that one world.
Oh yeah, so there's this one world in Viajat that we like to go to, which is based around Stalker, of course. It's a winter version of it, which is really nice. I went there purely to hang around with, I'm gonna be naming these people. There was Kurami. They had a different name back then. I don't remember what it was. There was another buddy whose name I don't remember anymore. I had a fight with him and then just kind of we fixed everything up, which is completely fine. Dead Memes, these are old names, they don't go by these names anymore. And then Shushi, and I think there were like 3 other people, maybe Blitz was there as well. Oh, Nardo was there as well. So, we're in this like big compound area. It's like surrounded with walls and everything else. There's 1 or 2 fireplaces within it. And we were hanging around, just having a good time in one of the basement areas. Everybody could see one another, and we slowly moved upwards just to be like outside because we were watching videos at the same time. And there's the only TV is in the dankest of fucking basements, and it's on a small CRT TV. And like everything's completely normal. So these maps, they do not have anything except for basically ambient, some settings to change like the graphics and everything else, and we're just big fans of Stalker, so of course we basically know everything that's going on in there. We were hanging out at the compound,
Right.
and at this point, 2 people had dipped out. The only people who were remaining was me, Shushi, Nado, Kurami, and Dead. There were, if I remember correctly, there were just us 5, basically. Or 6,
Right.
whatever. I can't even fucking count anymore, regardless. And we were just hanging out at the front gate. There was one fireplace there that we decided to walk to and lit up. When I think it was Dead who yelled, "Hey, there's something in the distance." And we were all just like looking at him like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "There's something in the distance." He points out towards the lake that is quite a whiles away from us. And no, none of us had exited the entire compound. We were all in that compound within eyesight of one another. We had checked the entire lobby list. There was nobody else there. Nobody had blocked anybody. You would see those because it was during a weird time when people could see even block people. So we were all there. Hello, Samir. And we looked in the distance and we saw that there is a light on. This light, we did not know what the hell it was at that point. So we decided to venture out there. All of us walked over to it, just looking around a tiny bit, and we start noticing as we get closer and closer to this fireplace that is in the middle of the lake. There's a little like ground that lifts up and everything else. It's surrounded by ice and everything else. Snow is falling down. It's a fireplace. It's one of those fireplaces that you have, like those campfires and stuff. It's been lit up. These fireplaces are never lit up when you enter the world. They're all completely turned off. And you cannot activate them from a distance no matter what. They are so far away. You have to be within like... The longest range that you can lit it up is from here to maybe the edge of this table. That is the longest distance that you can lit it up from. And we're all just wondering like, huh. And Dead asked, did anybody come out here to do this? And I'm like, no. We were all within eyesight. Shushi said, yeah, we were all just here. And Nado said the same thing.
God damn it, again!
Fucking Hatman.
Fucking Hatman.
And we were all just staring at one another and being like, huh, that's kinda weird.
Huh, very odd.
Then Nado points to the side and says, hey, what the fuck? We turn around looking at where he's pointing. There's a bridge that goes on the main road. Then there's a little like dip underneath it that you can go through. Another fire was lit. At this this point we were all getting kind of bit like confused and we're like, what the fuck? And started approaching it. We went past the bridge. Nothing weird happened during that time when we walked from the first fireplace to the bridge. But as soon as we were halfway towards from the bridge to the second fireplace that was lit, Dead screamed out that there's somebody there. And by there, he means the bridge. All of us turned around and we saw something go from the left side of the bridge quickly to the right side and then disappear because the ground like lifts up so you can't even see if there's anything there.
Ooh, fuck no, baby!
Dead and Kurami, Dead and Kurami ran up like directly after it, while me, Nado, and Rumi, goddammit, me, Nado, and Shushi were still sitting there, standing. Actually, we were just stopped completely dead in our tracks, and we were just like, "What the fuck was that? Like, what just went past?" And Nado's freaking out because Nado doesn't like horror. Shushi doesn't like horror. Dead loves horror, but hates it at the same time. Kurami's just stoned out of their mind and being like, what the fuck? So they come back after like 5 minutes and they're like, no, we have no idea where the fuck it went and what the fuck it was. And we're like, okay, that's mildly weird. So we approach the second lit campfire. We turn it off, just as we did with the original fireplace. I didn't say that earlier, but we did turn it off because we wanted to make sure that it's turned off. It was on again.
Ooh, fuck no,
We're staring
man.
at it like, what the fuck? And at this point, Shushi said, yep, nope, I'm out. As is traditional Shushi fashion, they dipped out of there. dad was like, yeah, no, I'm
Mhm.
not dealing with this shit, and left as well. So there were just me, Nado, and Kurami left. By this unlit campfire, we're staying at like, we go back to the original one, turn it off, then walk back to the campfire that we were just at that is also turned off. It is still off. Nado starts going, what the fuck was that noise? Looking around. All fucking freaked out and shit. He's hearing shit. Kurami is staring like, what the fuck? I'm there like, I didn't hear anything. And we're just looking around and I'm like, let's try and go upwards so we have a better look at everything. We walk uphill, and at this point, we start hearing sounds, faint whispers, faint talking from somewhere. Mind you, I have my nameplates usually enabled, so whenever somebody speaks, just to give attention to those people who might not know about this, if you have your nameplates on, when Zombie, for example, talks, you can see that it goes into blue. Yeah, and even if you're not really talking, but it picks up any noise, it goes blue. And you can see that from a mile away. Of course, it doesn't lit up if you're like really far away for, I don't know why, but I think that's past like the sound distance, I think. But all three of us are still grouped up as we go up the hill and we're hearing weird sounds. And Kurami literally says, no, I'm not dealing with this. I'm way too fucking high for this shit. Because, well, you know, it makes sense. You're fucking high. You don't want to fucking see this weird ass shit. So they did that.
Yeah, you don't want to have a bad trip. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Me and Nado are left. Mind you, Nado fucking hates horror. Anything to do with horror. He is a fucking scaredy cat. He will laugh as shit because he's frightened. And me, I love horror. I don't get freaked out. I really don't get freaked out that easily anymore. I have not been freaked out in years or spooked. The most thing that will spook me is if I start hearing somebody suddenly going from behind. Yeah, if something rapidly approaches me, I will fucking get spooked. I will be like, whoa! 360, no scope. But, yeah, we went up the hill. We're hearing the wind howling all normally. We hear the wind just going past. And we're just looking around, trying to see if there's anything spotted or anything else. And then Nado literally tells me, no, I'm not dealing with this. I can't deal with this. I'm gonna get going now. He dips out. I'm left alone. And I'm just looking around like,
Oh boy.
well then, trying to listen and everything else. And I'm like, okay, I don't see anything lit up in the distance. I don't hear anything really happening. So I start walking back towards where the compound is, but instead I go around the edges. Hello, Hatman.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, I start going around the edges, like just trying to see how far the wall goes, because now I'm interested, is there anything in there? And I keep on going around the whole place, sometimes hearing weird sounds, but I chalk it up to like being the ambience or something, because it would make sense. But the ambience location and stuff didn't make sense. When you have ambience, it is usually tied to a certain like direction when you're looking at, or it follows you. Like if you're like, let's say you hear saxophone from your left ear, if you turn, the saxophone would still be in your left ear no matter where you turn. If it's like, let's say a tree is making sounds, it would be tied to the tree that is right next to you, for example. I start hearing sound that is moving. That world never had that sound. We were there for over 4 hours, maybe 5 hours, and I keep very close attention to ambience and music because I love fucking ambience and music a lot. That sound was moving. It sounded like something scuttling, moving around.
Fuck no.
And every now and then would hear that weird whispering again, and I'm like, that is not a Stalker sound. I played through every single Stalker game. It is not part of Stalker. The original
You know
dude...
what we should do?
What?
We should go to that world on stream.
We could go that one sometime on stream, yes. And when we were going... like, I was going through there still solo. I kept walking around. I decided to pull out the camera just in case I can get, like, a picture or something. And I spot something weird behind the compound a little whiles away. There's a fucking backpack.
Oh, fuck no.
That was not supposed to be there. It doesn't belong there. There is no other backpacks. I approach it and I'm staring at like, what the fuck? And as I was about to touch it, I hear the loudest of fucking rustling right next to my ear, and I turn around and just look at it. There's nothing. There's absolutely nothing.
Nope.
I'm just staring, wondering, what the fuck? Moving my camera around, being like, what was it? What was it? Where is it? And I'm like, okay, that's fucking creepy and weird. And that's when I took a couple of the photos where I've been pointing at the camera, not the camera, the backpack.
Mm-hmm.
And I sent them to a few of my friends and said, hey, I found a fucking backpack and stuff. And then I'm like, there's probably something still weird here. So I spent a good hour afterwards going around, but I couldn't find anything else. But there was constantly this sense of unease. But the funniest part is I took some of my buddies to that world as well. One of them is V. And they started hearing the weird shit as well. Again.
Fuck. Oh,
I've grabbed a couple other
that's fucking
buddies
creepy.
whose names I cannot remember anymore because I literally just my friends list 1,000 or something people and they've changed their names over the fucking time. So it's painfully annoying trying to remember these people.
Right,
But
right.
we went through those areas and every single one of them reported either hearing something weird that doesn't belong or a sense of being watched.
Ugh, I hate that.
Mind you, the creator of these worlds is a... I can actually probably show it if I go and look up Stalker. Let's see, can I find it? There it is. Return of Winter by Daniel Semenov. Daniel, or Daniel, however you want to fucking say his name, probably Daniil, because he's Russian, has no known horror maps. He doesn't do horror.
Right.
They're all just Stalker, regular Stalker things, and he's ported them from Anomaly. These are all like Anomaly ones. I've played Stalker Anomaly. And he hasn't updated that specific world since 2024.
Ooh, fuck no. And what year did you guys go? Do you remember?
That was 2 years ago. In 2024.
Ooh, fuck no.
And I've gone there back a few times after that, and it's still weirdly happening.
Oh yeah, we definitely gotta go back there. We definitely gotta go back.
I go into these Stalker worlds very
man.
often. The only Stalker world I haven't had any weird occurrences is the swamp from Clear Sky. Except for some changes in how it looks, but that's because he's been updating that one. But every other one,
Right.
there's been weird occurrences that have happened to people, and they report hearing weird sounds, weird things happening, or being watched. There are no NPCs. No NPCs. There's the anomalies, sure, but all the anomalies are the same places as they would be in the original game, and they do not make those noises. Still to this day, I don't
hate
know
that.
what it is. Same as I don't know what was up with Jintei's driving maps at one point.
Ooh, I remember you telling me about that, yeah.
So, Jintei, for those of you who don't know, is one of the biggest creators of Initial D worlds. If I literally type in Jintei, I can actually show them. Go to user, which one of these is the right Jintei? Ah, fuck it, I'll just fucking search up the world itself. There we go, Initial D Myogi. Jintei 13. That is the creator. They do a bunch of Initial D worlds. They do Need for Speed, they do, what else? The Crew and all these other things. And he has, once again, nothing to do with horror. He doesn't do horror. The most he did was changing one world to have a Halloween theme because he thought it was funny to have an event where it's just Halloween themed, maybe color change and stuff. And the one that I went to, I think, I don't remember exactly which one it is. It's one of the winter ones that has a summer version as well. I can quickly look up which map it is. I can probably remember. I think it's... Yeah, Akina from Arcade Stage 8 Infinity. I think that's the one. You start out next to a tunnel.
Right.
That goes through the mountain and stuff. It's nighttime.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that one.
But it wasn't the winter version of it. It was the summer version where it was dry and nighttime. And I was driving through it multiple times. I spent a lot of time in these driving worlds. I absolutely adore them. And it's fun. So I was just trying to get like a big like streak going and just basically not crash at all. Just trying to get a good time, get a little handling of how it works because he changes how the cars work and stuff. And during the last few turns in that specific world, the headlights, as I was going to a turn, spotted something. scuttling across the fucking road.
Ooh, fuck no.
I was in VR, so I turned my head. I was like, huh? Huh? What the fuck was that? And I decide that when I turn more, I will keep my eye constantly trained to where I slide. As the light goes past, it scuttles across again.
Ooh.
So I decide, okay,
thanks.
fuck it, there's something here. So I decide to just go as fast as I can to try and chase it. And while I was going through the final turn, I see it zoom past from the left side of the road to the right side of the road and just go towards the tunnel. I could not see ahead. It was on all fours. That is the only way I can describe it, as all fours. There was one leg missing. Both hands, I think, were hands. Were going forward, and one leg, it was like hunched down, just going fast, like something like a bear or something. I don't know what it was, because there was no head, no tail. And the body was slightly weirdly angled and mangled. And I could not find it.
You know what? I think that's a good enough note to leave off now. God damn, that is creepy as fuck. Well, fucking A. Jesus Christ, that has me like shook up. Alright, well, that's our time for tonight, ladies and gentlemen, and everybody else. Thank you, even though with all the scuff, thank you so much for joining us again on another episode of The Midnight Zone. I will be back next week with more spooky, scary stories, and we will be also back tomorrow with Sleep Stream, on the weekend, some more fun stuff, and then on Tuesday we will have our travel agency, so stay tuned for that.
Hell yeah, it's gonna be in VR. These streams that we do on Thursdays, I will always be on desktop because it's more comfortable, more easy to have, and besides, the whole focus is on zombies, and it is easier for me to be in desktop staring at them because it gives them more of a physical representation than having a camera put at them. But yes, tomorrow we'll be back with God Eater. We're entering a funny era of it, and I hope that my fucking encoder doesn't die now that I'm using OBS. I will try to make sure that my microphone and everything else is working correctly, and that we don't have other problems. But we will now go and raid Shadow Purpley. We'll be back on the weekend with Dragon's Dogma. Monday starts a whole new game. At this point, it seems that it's going to be Dark Souls 2. That seems to be the current vote. We'll see actually in less than an hour, I think. I will find out. But yeah, for now, thank you for the subscription, Gary. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you for hanging around with us,
Thank you
Handred.
so much.
Thank you, Samir, for hanging around with us. We are gonna go now and raid Shadow, and I'll be back tomorrow at the regular time with God Eater. Peace out. Have a good time.
Lock your doors, everyone. Good night.